Hello everyone and welcome to my CSU channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Chrisley breaks silence about who really put his parents in prison. Chrisley knows best. Fans have been following the family since Todd and Julie were granted a presidential pardon, granting them an early release from prison. Since then, various members of the family have opened up about their story, Todd and Julie's original sentencing, and what happens now. Recently, Chrisley has opened up about his parents' story and what put them behind bars. Chrisley Knows Best fans saw Todd and Julie Chrisley receive a pardon from President Trump back in May. Chrisley is Todd and Julie's oldest child together. Many fans were introduced to him and his family through the USA Network reality series, Chrisley Knows Best. Back in 2022, Todd and Julie were sentenced to a combined 19-year sentence on charges including bank fraud and tax evasion. This past May, however, saw the couple receive a presidential pardon from President Donald Trump. Recently appeared on the GA Followers YouTube channel, where he opened up about his parents' arrest. During the moment, he made shocking claims over who he felt was to blame for his parents' initial arrest. As the interview went on, it was mentioned that there was speculation concerning Chase's half-siblings Lindsay and Kyle, possibly having something to do with actually sending Todd and Julie to prison. When asked if there was any truth to the story, Chase shared, as far as working against us with the government, 100% they did. Chase then asked for clarification if they outright said they were not involved with the arrest. The interviewer noted, "Well, it wasn't necessarily that they came out, but it was a lot of stuff online. Maybe they posted, or, interviews they've done." Chrisley said he would forgive, but not forget. Chase reiterated, "Yes, they did." He continued, "The FBI letter that I'm not even going to say her name, but that she wrote was read in court and she was sitting next to me." He then continued to describe the situation with his siblings as heartbreaking. When asked about Lindsay and Kyle's relationship with the family, Chase noted, "I can't speak for my whole family, but I know how my dad raised us to when people tell you who they are to when they show you who they are, believe them. And that what we have had to go through, it was a lot of pain. It was a lot of trauma. And I'm never going to put myself in that position again and be hurt." Chase continued, "So I do not have a relationship with either one of them. I wish them nothing but the best. But no, that chapter of that book is taken out for me." However, he added that he forgave them but said he wouldn't forget. For months, Chrisley had been biting his tongue. Ever since Todd and Julie Chrisley, his outspoken, picture-perfect reality TV parents, were sentenced to years in federal prison for bank fraud and tax evasion, the family had been walking on eggshells. Publicly, they preached unity. Privately, the wounds were raw. Every podcast interview, every paparazzi ambush, every late-night phone call with his mom or dad came with the same unspoken question: who did this to us? And now, Chase was finally ready to answer. He wasn't in a fancy studio or on a heavily produced Chrisley Knows Best spin-off. Instead, he sat in his Nashville living room, the blinds drawn, his phone recording on the coffee table. The glow from a single lamp made the shadows under his eyes more pronounced. "I've kept my mouth shut for too long," he began, his voice tight. "Not because I didn't have anything to say, but because I knew when I spoke, it was going to rattle some cages." He leaned forward, running a hand over his jaw, the same stubborn expression that Todd used to wear when he felt cornered. "Y'all think you know the story, that this was some open and shut case, that my parents were just guilty. But the truth is, someone close to us made sure they went down, someone we trusted." It was a gut punch to anyone who had followed the Chrisleys' rise and fall. Fans had speculated endlessly about who might have turned on Todd and Julie. Some pointed to shady business partners. Others whispered about jealous relatives, but Chase's next words would ignite a firestorm. "I'm not gonna sugarcoat it," he said, locking eyes with the camera. "The person who put my mom and dad behind bars isn't some stranger. They were in our home. They ate at our table. They smiled for the cameras with us." His voice wavered before hardening again. The weight of the admission hung heavy. Chase didn't name names right away. Instead, he took the long way around, painting a picture of the months before the indictment. He described the financial stress, the mounting pressure from the IRS, the quiet arguments that became not so quiet. "We all knew we had enemies in business," he explained, "but we didn't think one of our own would hand them the ammunition." Then came the breaking point. "I remember one night," Chase said, his eyes narrowing. "We had this family meeting in Dad's office. He had stacks of papers in front of him, and he said, 'Somebody's leaking information. Somebody's feeding them lies and twisting the truth.' And that's when I saw it, that flicker of guilt in their eyes." He paused, the silence almost suffocating. That person, they weren't just helping the investigators. They were leading them straight to our door. The betrayal, according to Chase, wasn't out of moral outrage. It wasn't even about justice. It was about revenge, he claimed. Old grudges, money disputes, jealousy. And instead of working it out, they went behind our backs, fed the feds everything they could, some true, a lot exaggerated, and watched as our family got torn apart. Chase admitted he'd wrestled with whether to tell the world. "You think I don't know how bad this looks?" he asked, his voice cracking for the first time. "You think I don't know people are gonna call me a liar or say I'm making excuses? But I was there, I lived it. And when you watch your mom cry over the phone because she can't be home for your birthday, or you hear your dad's voice get tight when he asks if you're okay, you realize silence isn't helping anybody." He shifted in his seat, finally letting out the name. It was like ripping a Band-Aid off a wound that never healed. "It was someone we called Blood," he said, his tone flat now, almost cold, "and I'll never forgive them." Though Chase didn't elaborate on every detail, citing ongoing legal matters, he hinted that there was more to come. "We've got receipts. We've got proof. And when the time is right, the whole truth's gonna come out." He leaned closer to the camera, his voice dropping. "This isn't over." The confession wasn't just explosive, it was personal. Chase talked about how the betrayal had changed him. "I don't trust easy anymore," he admitted. "I used to believe family meant loyalty, no matter what. Now, I've learned that some people will sell you out if the price is right." Still, in the midst of the anger, there was a flicker of hope. "I'm fighting for my parents," he said firmly. "Not just in the court of law, but in the court of public opinion. I don't care if it takes years. I want their names cleared. I want people to know they're not the villains in this story." He ended the video with a message that was equal parts warning and vow. "If you're watching this, and I know you are, just know your time's coming. You took my parents from me. You thought you'd broken us, but you only made us stronger." Chase clicked off the recording, sat back on the couch, and exhaled for what felt like the first time in months. Outside, Nashville went on as if nothing had changed. But for the Chrisley family, the battle had just taken a new turn. And for the person Chase had just called out, the one who had once been welcomed as family, life was about to get a whole lot more complicated. Because Chase Chrisley wasn't biting his tongue anymore. And the truth, once spoken, had a way of spreading faster than any reality TV storyline ever could.